Sarah Palin calls herself, quote, a Bible-believing Christian, period. What she doesn't mention is this. Palin spent most of her life attending a Pentecostal church, which may have shaped her beliefs, if not her politics. Palin's spiritual journey from her teenage years until 2002 was mainly at the Wasilla Assembly of God, a Pentecostal church where congregants say they speak in tongues.
When the Spirit comes on you, you utter things that nobody else can understand. Only God understands what is coming out of our mouths.
Tim McGraw was pastor at Wasilla Assembly of God when Palin belonged there.
I don't think everybody understands why it is that humans would react the way they do if they get touched by God. And I think that the Pentecostal church is very familiar with that dynamic.
McGraw says he never saw Palin speak in tongues. He says members also practice faith healing and believe in the end times, a violent upheaval in the world that will bring the second coming of Jesus.
Sarah she wasn't taught to look for one particular sign, one cataclysmic kind of single sign. She just knew that, like every Christian does, that God is sovereign and that he is in control.
When Palin delivered this speech at the Wasilla Assembly of God in June, it got little notice.
And we can work together to make sure God's will be done here.
But she suggested people pray that the troops in Iraq are following God's will.
Pray for our military men and women who are striving to do what is right also for this country, that our leaders, our national leaders, are sending them out on a task that is from God. That's what we have to make sure that we're praying for, that there is a plan and that plan is God's plan.
Neither Palin or the campaign will say much about her faith, except that she has deep religious convictions. But recordings like these have many wondering if her beliefs could impact policy decisions. Her former pastor says he has no doubt she'll turn to her faith in office.
Since her view of the world includes a God that loves us and can be accessed by us, it would be logical for her to frame her world with that possibility in it.
McGraw says Palin attended advanced classes to strengthen her Pentecostal faith and that he prayed with her to become a better leader.
What Sarah attempted to do was to apply everyday wisdom to her assignment as a leader in our local government. Proverbs out of the Bible applied common sense, but I would call it wisdom to wise leadership.
Palin's spokeswoman told me the governor doesn't mix religion with government business.
I know that she does pray for things, but she doesn't bring that to her office to pray for things.
But at Wasilla Assembly of God, she called on her audience to help fulfill Alaska's destiny and her mission to build a $30 billion natural gas pipeline here.
I think God's will has to be done in unifying people and companies to get that gas line built. So pray for that. But I can do my job there in developing our natural resources. But really all of that stuff doesn't do any good if the people of Alaska's heart isn't right with God.
In Alaska, Palin's spokesperson explains it this way. Of course they're all praying, doing everything possible to get the pipeline. What's the big deal?
I think we were all praying for a pipeline. I think every single one of us is praying for the pipeline because that's the future of this state, it's the future of the nation.
Palin had been a believer since she was a young girl. Her bio says she was baptized in Alaska's Beaver Lake and by age 12 had enrolled in church camps and Bible schools. She learned from the Pentecostals she can be directly moved by God. For more than 2 decades, Sarah Palin was a practicing Pentecostal. Yet the McCain campaign now says Palin doesn't consider herself Pentecostal. She hasn't talked about her faith since joining the Republican ticket. Is she playing down her Pentecostal roots? Her former Pentecostal pastor, Tim McGraw.
I think there may be issues of belief that could be misunderstood or played upon by people that don't know. What we taught was God is the creator of the world. He can be accessed by simple conversation and prayer, that he has the highest plans and purposes for their life.
Palin left the church 6 years ago to join a more mainstream, non-denominational church.
We don't know why she left the church, but we do know the senior pastor from her former church, Wasilla Assembly of God, had preached some unusual sermons. including one about how Alaska is destined to serve as a shelter for Christians at the end times.
I believe Alaska is one of the refuge states. Come on,
Many
guys,
Pentecostals believe we are approaching the end of days when Jesus will return and only believers will be saved.
God has a destiny for the state of Alaska.
Master's Commission is one of the keys in God's plan for Alaska, the United States, and the entire world.
In church in 2004, Pastor Ed Calnan focused on presidential candidate John Kerry. From the pulpit, he questioned the salvation of people who voted for the Democrat for president. The church directed us to a statement on its website saying the pastor was joking when he suggested Kerry supporters would go to hell. We do acknowledge in hindsight that it was careless, and we do apologize for that. This statement is not written as a defense, but as a clarification. Palin's current church, the non-denominational Wasilla Bible Church, is now also under the microscope. On August 17th, just days before Palin was asked to run as vice president, the founder of Jews for Jesus, David Brickner, told worshipers, terrorist attacks on Israel were God's judgment of Jews who haven't embraced Christianity.
Judgment is very real, and we see it played out on the pages of the newspapers and on the television. When Palestinian from East Jerusalem took a bulldozer and went plowing through a score of cars, killing numbers of people. Judgment. You can't miss it.
Palin's new pastor, Larry Crone, agreed with Brickner's views.
Would David Brickner be invited to speak here again after making those comments?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, it would be.
The McCain campaign has confirmed Palin was in attendance for that sermon, but Palin's spokeswoman told me Brickner's comments are not a reflection of her views.
I know that the governor, without a doubt, is pro-Israel.
Pastor Larry Crone wouldn't comment on Palin's beliefs.
How do you think a person's faith influences them or shapes them and their decisions?
You're talking about a real core aspect of who they are and how they see things, and they will, I think that's part of how they'll make decisions and react.